Hi, I'm Brian Johnson, and although you probably accidentally stumbled across it and have no idea why you're watching it, you are in fact watching The Dorkening.
Hello, this is Tom Kenny, voice actor.
The voice of the Ice King on Adventure Time.
And SpongeBob SquarePants. Ah, meow. Oh, Gary the Snail, too. Hey, guess what you're filling your eye holes and ear holes with? The Dorkening!
Oh, I love the Dorkening. Very popular in Ooh.
And Bikini Bottom.
Hi, I'm Lou Ferrigno. You're watching The Dorkening. And you know what? You don't like me when I get angry, so don't get me angry. You better keep watching The Dorkening.
This is Kevin Conroy, the voice of Batman. You're watching The Dorkening. Stay tuned.
And we are now live on another episode of Splash Pages. And with us, as always, we have the Velvet Joker. Rich, how's it going, my friend?
Good evening. Good evening. How's everyone tonight?
Doing fine. And tonight we're going to be talking about, let me close this window here. We're talking about Mike Grell's Longbow Hunters. And so this came out in 1987. And I looked up a couple facts about 1987. The Toyota Camry went for $11,000. Simpsons debuted in 1987. Also at the theater, RoboCop, Broadway News, Lethal Weapon, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. And so Green Arrow to Longbow Hunters was written and art by Mike Grell, which is very unique. Lettered by Ken Bresnak. And colorist was Julia LaQuintment. And like I said, it was published from August to October in 1987 in 3 books. And it features the Green Arrow, Shado, and Black Canary. And if you check show notes down below or up above, depending on where you're watching or listening to us, I have a link to the book. I believe Amazon has the book all in one format. We have that there as well. So Green Arrow to Longbow Hunters, collecting the 3-issue miniseries from 1987. Oliver Queen gives up his trick arrows and settles down in Seattle with Dinah Lance. But Ollie's world collides with one of unspeakable violence involving the beautiful and mysterious archer known as Shado. Now, the synopsis is quite long. Should I read the whole thing, or should we just dive right into it? What are your thoughts?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Okay, so please bear with me. On his 43rd birthday, Ollie Queen relocates from Star City to Seattle, Washington, the home of his girlfriend, Dinah Lance. He changes his costume and abandons the use of his trademark trick arrows for more traditional archery equipment. As Green Arrow tries to track down a serial killer, the Seattle slasher, who has been killing prostitutes in the area, Black Canary attempts to infiltrate drug racket, which may have ties to Kyle Magnor, a wealthy shipping magnate. Oliver tracks the killer of the abandoned Seattle underground section of the city, discovering that the killer is a disturbed ex-tunnel rat from the Vietnam War. Tunnel rat was somebody that you drove, from what I understand, somebody small that went into the tunnels to rat out the enemy. The slasher jumps Oliver and gets away to apparently kill again, but a mysterious female archer with an elaborate dragon tattoo on her arm shoots the slasher, as well as passing motorists before vanishing. The archer is revealed to be Shado, the daughter of a Yakuza agent incarcerated during World War II, where American soldiers, including Magnor, first forced him to reveal a major cache of Yakuza gold. Dishonored, the agent killed himself in atonement. When Shado comes of age, she is charged with killing those who are dishonored her father and the Yakuza. The passing motorist she killed was one of those soldiers who used the stolen gold to build a financial empire. Ollie tracks down Shado and fares poorly in the confrontation. At home, Ollie hears the news that the drug supplier Dinah had been investigating was found dead and mutilated earlier that day. Panicked, Oliver races to the dockside warehouse that she was suspected as a source of the drug distribution. There he finds Dinah tied up, tortured, and on the verge of death. Without hesitation, Ollie kills the torturer, one of Shado's intended victims. What's that?
Nothing. Go ahead.
Oh,
I lost my screen for a second.
Oh no. And while you come back, hey, Carlene Champagne. And I know I tortured your name. I apologize.
No.
Okay, so Magnor warns the CIA contract Osborn that he wants better protection on the next deal. Osborn assigns the weapons master Eddie Fires to eliminate Shado. After killing another target, Shado leaves a message for Ollie to meet her on Mount Rainier, where she intends to kill Magnor. Although Ollie initially tries to stop her, he notices Fires aiming a sniper rifle at Shado. He moves to subdue him, inadvertently giving Magnor a chance to escape. Ollie also confronts Osborn about the use of the Iranian arms deal to fund Nicaraguan Contras, pardon me, mirroring the events of the Iran-Contra story, which broke months earlier. Ollie confronts Magnor in his office. Ollie intends to frame him for the murder of the drug supplier, but Shado shoots the target through the window and kills him.
Dun, dun.
Yeah. So this was my first read.
Okay. What was your impression?
I loved it. I absolutely, I can easily see why this is a classic. And we were talking prior. The artwork is amazing, but you said something very very incredible about the printed artwork. What was that?
Well, I just remember reading it in 1987 when I was 16 years old. It looked like it was painted. I mean, I just read it digitally now, but I remember reading it, the paper in your hands. And I think it was in a book format, if I remember correctly. And it looked almost painted, and the art was just amazing. The storyline is just, it's dark. It was political. It was killing hookers, and he killed an undercover cop.
Yeah.
And when they sort of go back in history and they go through his timeline, and when he was a tunnel rat in the army, and they just built this guy in the army, and he just was one of those guys that really liked it, and he had like a necklace full of ears, and just a twisted human being.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to pull up some of the artwork, and actually I took some notes while reading it, and I apologize for butchering everybody's names tonight. And it's Champagne. Thank you. I read that, Carlene. So some of the figures they gave, and once I find my notes, where the hell are they? Here we go. I found it funny that the business they were in, he called it the Sherwood Florist.
Right.
So one set of cash that they brought was $350,000. That was like it was a much larger score, but one of the guys thought that was a large score, and that would be $800,000 today. But everything that kind of ticked it off to $2 million in gold from 1950 would actually be 21 million in today's dollars.
Right. So that was quite a split.
Yeah, and I find it funny. The homeless person, she wants to take the $2 and buy a lottery ticket and win, so that she can hire a butler to push her cart around.
Right. But then they showed that it's actually Shado, because they showed her tattoo on her arm.
Oh, I missed that.
Really? Oh yeah. You got to go look at that image again. After she's walking away, they show her like pushing like her hands on the cart, and you see a bit of the dragon tattoo standing out, because that was her giving Ollie the information as a bag lady.
Got it. I'm gonna pull that up, and while I do, what are your thoughts? I know you. Well, why don't you fill some time there?
Sure, absolutely, no worries. Well, like I said, I mean, it is a great story, and Ollie does some questionable things, and he sort of lets some killings happen. And of course, Dinah Lance, the love of his life, Black Canary. They're sort of retiring. They're they're living in this sort of castle house, and they're getting all set up. They're just moving in, and then all of a sudden, Ollie's on this mission, and then she's got her own mission, and they just end up crossing paths. And he ends up having to save her with the help of Shado, because Shado ends up shooting an arrow through the guy that was gonna gut Dinah. It's good stuff.
Very good stuff. So Carlene says it seems pretty good. Need to get the name. So yeah, it's Longbow Hunters by Mike Grell, and actually you had a chance to meet Mike. I have a picture of that here.
I did. There we are. That was at Terrificon, I think 2 years ago. And, he was a really nice guy. As you can see, he's very jolly, very happy, very friendly. And I remember seeing him, and I was like, Mike, I got to talk to you. And he's like, what's up, Joker? And I was like, I just want to let you know, reading Longbow Hunters as a young man was, very formidable, and it really got me entrenched in comics. And he seemed very humbled, and I was like, do you mind if we take a selfie? And henceforth, the picture you see.
It's a great, we were just talking about Mitch prior, but the, he puts on an awesome show, and he gets awesome comic book personalities. And that's one thing that you kind of miss, because, a lot of the cons, they've gone the way of, bigger celebrities and everything, but Mitch really focuses on people that originated the story. And actually, I finally got it to pull up, and we'll find that page here.
Yeah. For him, it's always been about the comics. He'll pepper in some TV people, but still relating to comics.
Yeah.
He's not really out to do some of the more weird pop culture-y things. Like he's never had Elvira.
He's never. Oh, okay. And this is not working. I'm having tons of technical issues tonight. What?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
It's okay. My comic book reader keeps on unzooming when I.
Problems. Also, this was sort of an adult-themed book. There was a fair amount of nudity in this book.
There was, yes.
Yes, and not for the young at heart. And, nor was the killings or the subject matter. It's a very adult subject matter. You got politics in there. You got sort of dirty military actions going on. Ollie ends up taking he's given a bag of cash at the end, and the guy gets murdered. So he just takes the cash. He's like, "We got a raise."
So explain that, because I'm not a green. I watched the Green Arrow show,
Mm-hmm.
It seemed like, he was rich, from the start, but he's not that rich in the comics. And so
There were different storylines back and forth where he's had money and then lost the money. I think this might have been one of the times where he lost the money, or he had, a limited amount of money. Because obviously they had enough to buy that house.
they did, yeah.
Yeah. But then again, the prices in 1987 are not the prices of today.
Yeah, where you can get a Toyota Camry for $11K,
Yeah, exactly.
So with the reception of Green Arrow to Longbow Hunters, it was nominated for the 1988 Eisner Award for Best Finite Series. And the series proved popular enough that DC Comics commissioned the first ever Green Arrow ongoing series. Also written by Grell, writer from issues 1 through 80 from 1988 to 93. The series ran for 11 years. Grell would write the retelling of Green Arrow's origin and first case in Secret Origins, Volume 2, number 38, March of 1989. Grell also wrote and illustrated the official post-crisis origin of Green Arrow in the Green Arrow The Wonder Year miniseries in 1993. So Green Arrow wasn't a regular series prior to this?
I guess not. I never guess I had a successful solo series, but I remember there was a while there was a Green Lantern Green Arrow series. But I'm definitely not an encyclopedia on Green Arrow.
Oh, it's okay. Okay. I finally got it to work. So I'm going to go back to that one page. Here's where we find, like you said, the nudity with Dinah Lance.
It's all strung up out there, and you can kind of see her. You can kind of see her boobies.
Yeah, but even the violence. I mean, she got totally wrecked.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
she bled a bit.
The artwork absolutely amazing. He just tends to fill up the whole page. It's not just like the panels; it's like the background shots and everything.
Absolutely. I mean, look at all that layering that he's doing. Some of it's panels, some of it's bigger pictures, but it's all impactful. There's a lot of great shots where they're telling you a history. There's like two stories going on at the same time. Like the Japanese stuff's on the sides, and then the Green Arrow part's in the middle, and then it's all intermixed.
Oh, totally. And you got that amazing shot of that guy being shot right through the eye. Okay, so it must have been in book 3. Here we go.
Oh, right. That's where he has the nightmare. Her turning into the demon guy turning into the dragon.
Yeah. Here we go. The homeless. Oh, yeah. There we go.
Oh, you see her wrist there, right?
Yep.
Yeah, see the dragon tattoos there. Oh, I'm sorry you missed that, but yeah. I totally caught. I was like, is that the dragon lady? And then I was like, oh, there's the wrist.
So Carlene says awesome artwork. We have a couple other people watching as well. So if you've read Longbow Hunters, we'd love to hear what you said and or what you thought. And
Thanks for checking in, Charlene. Thank you.
Like I said, this was definitely my first read, and absolutely loved it. So going back to our ratings. And we forgot to do this last couple ones, but you want to do crowbars.
Yes.
So
the Joker, absolutely. So out of 5 crowbars, I gotta say this is a complete story. I'm 5 crowbars. 5 crowbars. That's all I can say. The art is amazing. You get a feeling, in this, they're talking about Ollie in his 40s at this point, his young 40s.
Yep.
And he's dealing with the fact of being, midlife. And I don't know if he's having a midlife crisis, but, he's given up, like you said, his trick arrows, as you said in the synopsis, and he's just going for straight up arrows. And, that's deadly. And he's identifying with the hunter in him and peace of mind of he tracks and he hunts, and that's what he does. He's helping the police at this point, and then he ends up not helping the police.
Yeah, that was one thing that I found a little odd. So he's recently moved to Seattle,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a killer going around killing people with an arrow, and he goes to the police as the Green Arrow, all dressed up. You would think they would like
she had different arrowheads than he did.
Yeah, he had okay.
She had this more intricate. There was a point where they find some burnt arrowheads, and he's like, "Oh, these two look the same, but if you look carefully, this other one looks," because his arrow was in there too.
Yeah. Carlene says that come when I was 8 and 9, but the funny way she thinks she's seen this and read it in her early teens.
Yes, I think I was 16 in 1987.
Yeah. How old was I? 1987.
Mm-hmm.
I was 13.
Okay.
Yeah, 13, 14. I love this. When the police are trying to get the description of the person that attacks them, which was Ollie. The bad guys obviously give
like he's a demon,
a demon-esque, and the old couple that he saves describes Errol Flynn.
Right, and they really identify with that because he's like he loves that Errol Flynn Robin Hood painting that they hung up in the new house.
Exactly.
And he wanted to live up to those ideals, fictional though they be.
Okay, please describe, or not describe, why is her hair color change?
She wears a wig.
Okay.
Yeah. She's got black hair and the blonde's a wig.
Okay. That's why. Okay. Yeah, she doesn't really don the Black Canary outfit for long in this. No,
it's just for some fun with Ollie.
Carly, no worries. I apologize for my reading as well. She says sorry for the spelling in my reading. I need new glasses. It's as soon as COVID slows down a little bit, I gotta go to the eye doctor and get a new prescription.
There you go. Yeah, the eyes are weaker.
Yeah. As we get older, our eyes get worse, which is terrible.
That's right.
Yeah.
We're breaking down. It's all over. Oh no.
And I love, how he's talking about going back to basics, and that's actually why he describes getting rid of the trick arrows.
Mm-hmm.
And we get the full retelling of him on the island. I apologize. We got snow over here, so the snow truck is going by.
We have quite a bit too going on.
Yeah. How much snow you guys got going over there?
I'd say there's at least 2 or 3 inches right now.
Okay.
It started toward the end of my day, so I would say it started around 4:30.
Yeah. The other thing I love about this, and definitely going back, is like the clothing and the hairstyles. It is very 80s. He really captured that.
Sure, absolutely. And the realness of like the grittiness of a city street and old people getting harassed, and him just taking that. He's like, "Hey, I'm here now. Let everybody know." Sort of did the Batman thing.
Yeah.
He's like, let everyone know, Don't be a punk.
The big cities back then, also in the 80s, like a lot of people don't realize, like New York was really rough back then, before it got cleaned up. And, maybe I don't know how Seattle was, but I know New York was really bad. So I'd imagine Seattle had a similar amount of crime.
Perhaps.
Yeah, I remember it had to be the late 80s. We took a drive to Florida, and I just remember driving through New York. There's like burnt cars on the side of the road. It was a mess.
Yeah, certain areas of the Bronx and Queens and stuff.
Carlene says we have snow here too as well. Want to let everybody know that at the half of the hour, we're going to be bringing Chris in, and we're going to be talking about Spectacular Spider-Man. And we had a chance to read those as well, issues 137 and 138, and also covering Amazing Spider-Man number 300. But what you're listening to or watching now is for Splash Pages, the comic book club. And figured we'd add Chris's books in it as well, since we're already doing this, and we're reading more comics, which is much awesomeness. Are you finding yourself reading a lot more since we started this, Rich?
I don't get in as much time as I'd like to, so a few more stories. Like, I've jumped ahead already on the Spectacular Spider-Man storyline, which I'm gonna have to resist talking about tonight.
Well, we could. I read it as well, so we can probably talk about it.
Well, we're gonna let Chris run that. That's his.
Yeah, exactly.
But I still get plenty of nerd stuff in. I just rewatched Justice League Dark Apocalypse War.
Nice.
Which is a great dark story.
It is.
Yep. And I know Chris said he's going to talk about it a little bit, but I also saw the Soul of the Dragon Batman.
Yes. I'm about halfway through, but that is really good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm now. It obviously Bruce Timm produced, but it definitely has the artwork. Who did the art in that?
I don't know, but it's very 70s themed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I really like that they broke it down. It wasn't like a Batman story. I mean, even though it was had Batman in the name, it felt like it was all the different characters. It was pretty well spaced out, their backstories and their integral parts of that storyline.
Yeah, it's maybe I'll try to finish tonight. So if you are not a part of it, definitely check out our Facebook page. So Splash Pages is the comic book club. I have a link in the show notes down below or up above. And also I have a picture here. I put together some shirts with the help of artist Dal Merge, Dal Merge. He helped with this artwork here. And he's an awesome comic book artist. He's helping us design some custom t-shirts, and if you check the show notes, you have a link to those shirts as well. And so I'm gonna have to have him do some sort of comic based t-shirt at some point, but my funds are a little limited, so I'm having him design 1 to 2 shirts a month. So yeah, he did a video game one, which I need to load that design, and then he did the blockbuster movie one. And we'll have to figure out something for comics for Splash Pages.
So nobody left you a bag of cash, Leo?
No.
Maybe you should take up the bow and arrow.
Yeah, but you got to climb that mountain, though. I don't like the cold.
Got to work on those calf muscles. Go.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to read more Green Arrow after this. It's I really
get into Ollie, the backstory of Ollie.
Yeah, and one thing, watching. So I watched like the first 4 seasons of Green Arrow, and that's pretty much where it died off for me. But it definitely varied because in the beginning, he was a straight out killer in the TV show.
Right.
Yeah.
He had to change his ways.
Yeah. So it definitely varied quite a bit. And I was waiting for the point, like retelling his storyline in Longbow Hunters. He fell off the yacht. It wasn't him and his father. Like the TV show. Was that changed at all, or you don't know?
Yeah, no, that's I mean, I don't know if they emulated that storyline at some point in the comics, but that was never a storyline that I was familiar with till I saw it on TV.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, we're gonna break here, and did I get my crowbars?
No. I gave 5 crowbars.
You gave 5. I'm going to agree with you. 5 crowbars. This is
5 crowbars, the highest. So, Mike Grell, we salute you.
We do. And maybe he'll come on one time. It's I tagged him in Twitter, but he didn't respond. So well, I'll have to keep on tagging him.
All right.
Artwork and story spot on. Perfect. But yeah, so here is we're gonna play an ad here for Deadly Grounds Coffee. They support the network. They keep the lights going, and they're definitely a sponsor of ours. But also, I spend too much money with them buying coffee. Maybe if I didn't buy so much coffee, I can get some more shirt designs.
A nice smooth cup of coffee.
Oh yeah. It's a nice little hint of chocolate for their Death by Chocolate. They have a bunch of different flavors as well. But you know what? Here's a zombie talking about coffee, and when we come back, we're gonna talk to Chris about Spider-Man.
Everyone thinks because you're a zombie, you don't know good coffee. Well, they're wrong. There's only one brew that gets my seal of approval. Deadly Grounds Coffee is my guilty pleasure. The aroma is so intoxicating. It brings all of my neighbors out of the woodwork. Deadly Grounds Coffee. Coffee to die for and zombie approved. It's good to get a little deadly. Use the front door! Oh, they're so disgusting.
And we are back. Chris, you with us?
Yes.
How's it going, my friend?
Good. So if anyone's listening to this on the podcasting streaming thingy, whatever that's called, the not the stream. If you're downloading this from iTunes, Stitcher, and Google Play, which I assume we are on, right, Leo, along with Amazon?
Yes. Yeah. I loaded splash pages onto everything.
Okay, so if you're listening to this, the opening song you're hearing is by Niall Stenson. I might be mispronouncing his name. He has many covers for many different songs, including every version of every Power Ranger theme song. But I also reposted on my Twitter at ChrisDSAV Child's Play and Godzilla's main theme, which is relevant considering that trailer came out. But he also did a rock metal version of the Spectacular Spider-Man.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I was listening to your episode that you posted. I love the music.
Excellent. And today we are talking about Spectacular Spider-Man number issue 137 and 138. Leo, do you have the plot synopsis, publication date, and credits for us?
I have some information. Let me pull it up here.
Just want to point out to everyone, there is a giant difference between these two issues, and it's not just the color of the threads. The price tag changed from 75 cents to $1 in 1 month from April to May back in 1986, which is probably February or January of 1986, considering, they always are 2 months out in the date in terms of publication.
Big jump.
Yeah.
And they explain it in the back of the second issue, which I will read about why that happens, as well as the other, big change that happens in the issue as well.
Awesome. This is what I have for so it's Spectacular Spider-Man 137 and 138, written by Jerry Conway, art by Sal Buscema, colorist was Bob Sharon, letterer was Rick Parker, editor was Jim Sailcrup, and editor-in-chief at the time was Ron DeFalco.
Tom DeFalco.
I said Rom.
Not the Space Knight. Sorry.
Typo. Okay, so the titles was Nowhere to Run, Nowhere to Hide, and Night of the Flag. There's a new tarantula in town, and he's on a mission to take out any political refugee he can find. Spider-Man is finally able to chase down Tarantula, and it looks like this case is all webbed up, but unbeknownst to the wall crawler, Tarantula has a shocking new ally, Captain America. What a twist.
What a twist. Yeah, so we're gonna get right into it in the first issue. The covers have have Spider-Man in his black threads. The final time we will see him in the black threads until Todd McFarlane would put him back in it. Which is funny when you think about it. Todd McFarlane takes Spider-Man out of the black threads in issue 300 of Amazing Spider-Man, but puts him back in the black threads so Spider-Man can go hunt down some missing homeless people when Morbius is snatching them up off the streets, because who cares about the homeless? vampire feeding ground. But that's not the one I'm saying. That's just the way it's written by Todd McFarlane. Todd McFarlane clearly has a lot of love for the homeless because they're the biggest allies of his character Spawn, if you read the early issues of Spawn.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on, whole other story. The cover has Tarantula 2 fighting Spider-Man and the Black Threads in front of Jesus Christ. I'm not even joking, it's Jesus Christ. And then the second issue has Tarantula and Captain America, John Walker, not Steve Rogers, punching Spider-Man out. And just to get into that real quick, Captain America was told by the Commissions of Superhuman Activities, who basically monitor all the superhuman crap in the Marvel Universe. It's not the Civil War. It's not like a mask in front of me and get a job at the government. It's basically like S.H.I.E.L.D. and, good old Ronald Reagan era red tape and bureaucracy of the 1980s has told Captain America, you have to do this, that, and the other thing. And Steve's like, yeah, I don't think so. And they're like, well, guess what? You don't own Captain America, Mr. Rogers, so either give up the shield or do what we tell you to do. And so at the end of the issue, the second time, Steve lays down the shield and walks away, and he becomes the captain. And they decide to go get a brand new, shiny, blonde-haired, blue-eyed man named John Walker, who was kind of a jackass earlier in a couple issues before that, to become the new Captain America. I'm not going to get much more into about that. But if you're going to watch Falcon Winter Soldier, guess who's going to be on that show? John Walker. Because they don't want a black Captain America. They want their shiny white boy Captain America. And the government owns the mantle of Captain America. That's going to be a plot line of that Falcon Winter Soldier show if you haven't gotten that from the credits.
And what were you going to say there, Rich?
No, John Walker was the super patriot first.
Yeah, and then he was U.S. agent, and he's been U.S. agent pretty much off and on ever since. He is currently right now, I think he's U.S. agent again. He's got his own miniseries, or as another name for him is U.S. Jackass. So he ran the Thunderbolts for a little while too, by the way, post the Dark Ages storyline of Norman Osborn running Hammer when Hammer replaced S.H.I.E.L.D. Anyway, so we're going to jump right into the issue. These two issues have a lot of political relevance to what's happening today. We're once again talking about a comic book from 1986 that is insanely relevant today. We just had a huge change in our United States government, and the topic of immigration will come up again. And both of these issues have to do with illegal aliens. And how do you feel about illegal aliens? Should illegal aliens be deported? Should they be sent back to countries that are just war-torn? And that's what the Tarantula is sent here to do, and Spider-Man's kind of against it. And eventually, so is John Walker, because he realizes, wow, people look at the American flag and they fear it. And that's not what the American flag should stand for. Not to get political, but how relevant is that today, Leo?
Super relevant.
I mean, we try to not get political, obviously, on the Dorkening Network, but you can't help it when the topic is written in front of you in what you're holding.
Totally. Going with the second issue. So the first issue you have.
Yeah, let's get to the first issue first.
Yep, totally. You have the makeup. It was the makeup artist for MJ, right?
Yes, the makeup artist, Elvira. Yes. Mary Jane is in doing a modeling shoot because she's super popular. Her and Peter just moved into a brand new spiffy top floor penthouse apartment, and she has a makeup artist who is a illegal alien.
Yeah, and she's extremely scared to go back. And we know why, because Tarantula. I'm trying to find the shot right here. I mean, he flat out.
Yeah, well, there's Tarantula. So there's the other thing. Now, this is Tarantula 2, and he blames Spider-Man for the death of the original Tarantula, whose name was Anton Miguel Rodriguez, and he first appeared in Amazing Spider-Man 134, I believe, created by Jerry Conway. And Jerry Conway was the original writer of Spectacular Spider-Man #1 alongside Sal Buscema, and Conway and Buscema brought back Tarantula as a new character because, long story short, he got mixed up with Roxxon Organization. If you play the Miles Morales video game Spider-Man, Roxxon's the big enemy in that. And involving the Will-O-the-Wisp character I don't really care about. Not going to get too much into him. Tarantula turned into a giant spider and then went splat. And if you could see on the stream, my little round picture is what the Tarantula became. He became a giant humanoid tarantula.
Nice.
Indeed.
And this character is now named is Luis Alvarez, and he would bump around the Spider-Man books for quite some time. He would team up with the Chameleon, he'd fight Black Cat, and then he'd go up against Punisher and Batrac the Leaper. And the last time we saw him, he got caught by the jury, which were a bunch of people wearing watered-down Iron Man armor who all hated Venom because they all had family members that were murdered by Venom, so they wanted to kill him, and they captured Tarantula and murdered him in Venom Sinners Take All, which was a semi-return of the Sin Eater, but not the one that we just covered. Also, the first appearance of the She-Venom in the bubble butt, giant boobed image that you've seen on the cover, where she's got the huge teeth and the giant fangs. But I digress.
So Tarantula, well, this Tarantula, he's come to the U.S. to flat out kill people that have defected his country.
Correct.
Which is crazy. And then we can see here he's working with somebody within the U.S.
A rogue agent, we come to find out. This person is not actually officially sanctioned by the United States government anymore. He got removed because of his activities, which Captain America will find out about and discuss him even more. Because despite all of John Walker being kind of a jackass, he is a patriot, true, and he does believe in this country and doing what's right. Now, a quick little side thing. Stop right there. If you're listening, or sorry, if you're watching on the stream, and then if you're listening on the podcast, what we're describing is what's going to come up in the next 5 issues of Spectacular Spider-Man. Began in an issue of Web of Spider-Man. Robbie's old childhood friend in quotations. And by friend, I mean you're the bully in school, and you got one little stooly friend, and that happens to be Robbie Robertson. Is the second appearance of Tombstone, who is this albino black man that Robbie covered up information for involving a murder to protect his life and to save Tombstones from prison.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Robbie's got some dark secrets with this one. Tombstone was animated on the 90s animated cartoon series, and he didn't have any lines, but he was in Spider-Verse.
Yeah, he didn't have any lines? I thought he did.
I think he's got a line, but he really has almost nothing to say in that movie. I would hope, and I don't know a lot of albino African-American actors out there, but the actor who plays Tobias Whale currently on Black Lightning, and I'm not totally caught up, so I'm not entirely sure if he's still on that show as part of the CW universe. That would be an interesting actor to play Tombstone, because you would definitely have to cast an albino black man to play Tombstone, because that's what he is.
Yeah, this was he was the character. He was sort of like a bodyguard for Kingpin.
Correct. And if you watch the Spectacular Spider-Man cartoon series, which our theme song is part of, he actually took the place of the Kingpin of Crime in that cartoon, voiced by David Keith, Goliath from Gargoyles, because they didn't have rights to use Kingpin at the time.
Oh, wow.
So they substituted him for Tombstone, and it was a really good villain. It was very cool. They gave him like the sharp teeth or whatever, and they kept him in shadow a lot, so you really couldn't see him. And they made his skin a little bit more tinted blue sometimes, I think, but that might have been the way the shadow was. But they didn't really go into a lot of his backstory, and they definitely didn't cross him over with the Robbie Robertson character on that show at all. But he was on the show, and he was Spider-Man's Kingpin for that show. But he is peppered throughout these couple of issues because he's working for Wilson Fisk's lackey, the Arranger, who sets up stuff for Wilson Fisk, and we'll get more into Tombstone the next several issues coming up. So, but he does pepper throughout this entire thing, and one of the reporters of the Daily Bugle is looking into why Robertson is so interested in a known contract killer like Tombstone.
So what I have on the screen right here, which you don't really see, is just a gang of thugs that, Peter Parker obviously walks into the wrong side of town.
Correct.
And this gang of thugs just, start going off on him. And we talked about just recently. So this is from 86. We last time, or our previous earlier in the show, we covered Longbow Hunters was 87. And talking about the big cities back then, they were pretty rough.
Mm.
A lot of people don't realize that, and we talked about it then. New York, what was really bad. It was, it was certain areas you definitely didn't want to go in,
After the meeting with Robbie and Tombstone, we also run into another character that will appear in Spider-Man comic books, Ben Urich. If you remember, Ben was on the first season of Daredevil, and he got killed off. And he was also in the Daredevil movie, because he's usually tied to Daredevil. He's the first person to ever learn Matt Murdock was actually Daredevil. Not by Matt revealing his identity to them, but he was a reporter who figured it out. And of course, eventually everyone learned who Daredevil was, but that's all been mind-wiped and no one remembers now. But I digress. Ben Urich is a reporter for the Daily Bugle. His wife unfortunately committed suicide during the Secret Invasion storyline with the Skrulls, which was very unfortunate. But he's popped in and out of the Spider-Man and Daredevil titles over the last several years, and he's covering this story involving the illegal aliens and the appearance of Tarantula into the church and the big fight with Spider-Man. I don't quite understand why they've written it as like Tarantula believes Spider-Man killed Tarantula. It's like anybody could figure out that Spider-Man has never taken a life before. It makes no sense to write this for the character to be like, oh, well, all of a sudden he must have just taken that life. That makes no sense whatsoever, considering every time Spider-Man's ever been accused of murder, Captain Stacy, George Stacy, Norman Osborn, he's been cleared of all those charges. You know, there's never been evidence to support Spider-Man is a murderer. Spider-Man's killed possibly, I think, one person his entire life, and that was Charlie in the Spider-Man versus Wolverine one-shot. And that's only because she forced him to do it by accident. So it was unintentional manslaughter on his part.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Now, Chris, may I ask you, now this Tarantula, they don't really say what his connection to the other Tarantula is.
Yes, they do. Yeah,
they do?
Yes, they do. And either in this issue or the second issue, he talks about how this is why I was chosen to take the drugs that have given me the strength of blood tarantula. This is why I have come to El Norte to teach the lesson of terror. That's when Spider-Man shows up to stop him from teaching his lesson of terror. So he comes from the same country as the original tarantula. Both tarantulas are basically like their country's, I don't want to call them their country's Captain America, but that's kind of what they are. You know, take the drugs, get superpowers, be a representation of the country, become our hitman.
Right. So it's more of a legacy. It's not. There's not an actual familial connection.
Right. Stop right there, Leo. right there. Okay, good. You were too far ahead. So Spider-Man deals with Tarantula, and then the INS shows up and says, "Nope, illegal aliens, get them out of the country. They didn't do anything wrong, but they're still illegal." That is the problem with immigration right now. It's like, who do we deport? Do we deport everybody? Do we deport people who should be, who shouldn't be? I think if you're a criminal and you're doing bad stuff in this country, like killing people and robbing banks or whatever, breaking the law, yeah, I mean, you should be deported. But if you're a refugee from a country because your country sucks, then I don't think you should be deported. Do you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. Because if you're working here, no matter what, you're putting into the system. You're buying groceries here. You're paying utility bills here. You're buying gas for your cars here. You're contributing to society.
Right. It's a slippery slope with this entire conversation. Of course, I do realize that because of illegal alien still means illegal.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, not getting political, but like the past 4 years, you know, it was like sort of demonizing anybody that was like an illegal alien, you know? It was,
correct.
You know, that's why building a huge wall to keep them out and throwing them in cages and all that shit.
Right.
You know, it's people forget, you know, this America is supposed to be a melting pot. You know, it's all our different views and you know, personalities and heritage. You know, this is what makes this nation great. It's just, you know, a huge, you know, hodgepodge of, you know, differences, you know.
Jumping right over to issue 137, I thought this was going to be a dream sequence for Peter because I haven't read this in a while, but this is basically Tarantula looks like he's having some kind of a wet dream in his head of killing Spider-Man, to the point you see a giant blood splatter as he stabs Spider-Man, and then he spits right in Spider-Man's face. Holy shit.
For 138. Yeah.
Yeah, holy cow.
Yeah, you have Captain America holding him down for the people watching, listening, and not catching the live stream. And why not? Why aren't you watching the live stream? And he even mentioned that it's like a daydream. Or
yeah.
Captain America tells him to stop daydreaming or something like that.
Yeah, and Captain America's like, do I really want to work with this guy? Would the original Captain America want to work with this guy? He doesn't call himself John Walker, but when he says the original Captain America, and you look at the time the comic book came out and what was happening in Captain America, that's when you know it's John Walker, not Steve Rogers. But also because of the fact he doesn't know Spider-Man. He's never worked with Spider-Man. Steve has.
So Chris, I don't know if you want to cover this now, but why is he in the red suit? He was in the black suit a second ago.
Yeah, so at the end of issue 137, in the credits page, they actually talk a little bit about the upcoming, and I assume it's probably a week after this, the 300th issue, the 25th anniversary celebration of the first appearance of Spider-Man happened at this time. And in the back of the writer letters page, Spectacular Spider-Mail, issue 300 was going to hit the stands, and we have the first full appearance of Venom. And Venom pretended to be Spider-Man, and Mary Jane came home from work, modeling, acting, whatever, and Mary Jane is seeing Spider-Man in the dark, in the black suit, with the white emblem on his chest, and she's like, why are you breathing so heavy, Peter? And just this mouth forms out of the darkness, and all in his giant tentacle, tendril, sharpened claws, and he says, hi, honey, I'm home. And then
was that McFarlane, Chris?
And then he, what was that, Rich?
Was that McFarlane?
You're going too fast.
No. I was just trying to get to the point where you,
right there. Yeah, right there on the screen.
Yeah. So this is at the end of issue 299.
Yes.
And sorry, what were you going to say, Rich?
No, I was just asking if that issue 300 with the art you were showing, if that was McFarlane.
Yes, this is all McFarlane took over the book at 298 till issue 325.
Got it.
So this is Venom before he gets all the super sharp teeth and the giant tongue. They drew him a little bit more reasonable. It was his second appearance that he has the sharper teeth, and then Eric Larson gave him the ridiculous tentacle hentai-like tongue. Yeah. Which I have a poster hanging up behind me of his tongue wrapped around Spider-Man's skull saying, Spider-Man, I killed you well, like Hamlet.
What I have that issue. What issue?
It's an Eric Larson issue. It's the Venom Island storyline.
Yeah, that was such a good storyline.
Yeah, and in fact, they just actually went back to that island over in the more recent issues of Venom about a year ago.
Oh wow.
Yeah. He reminisces like, I could have lived here forever. It would have been great. I didn't have to worry about anything. But Spider-Man brought me back. And that's all forgiven now because I don't go after Spider-Man anymore. I have Null, the symbiote god problems to deal with. Anyway, at the end of the issue, Mary Jane asks Peter to never wear the costume ever again, and he does. And now he wears the red and blue costume, which, by the way, was a costume store variation of his costume that he got while he was in Germany fighting Wolverine in the Spider-Man Wolverine one-shot. Because on the back of it, it says Die Spider or something, or however you say Spider-Man in German, is written on the back. So she alters the costume after they clearly bang, and then he goes web swinging off.
I just have to say, I absolutely love McFarlane's art.
Yes. By the way, you can see a big difference in Mary Jane's hair in this. It's so 80s compared to her hair in the Spectacular issues that we're covering right now. It's very much the more 70s, 60s Mary Jane hair, which was straight, red, and, normal. Whereas this is like 80s to the extreme Mary Jane hair.
A little curly.
Yeah, so that is the only tie into the Amazing Spider-Man we'll probably talk about for at least a long time until we get to Inferno, because Inferno has a big crossover with that as well. Spider-Man and Mary Jane go to the INS office to see if there's anything they can do for Elvira and her husband. They can't, while Robbie is still looking into his old buddy, Tombstone, and his lead reporter, Kate, I don't remember her last name. She's an on-again, off-again reporter character in Spider-Man that we never saw again after a giant layoff of reporter characters during the Clone Saga. Wonders, why does Robbie have such interest in a contract killer? And they even call it end of second interlude, which is pretty funny. Tarantula shows up at the prison and knocks out a guard, and he's about to kill the guard when Captain America is like, no. And that's when Captain America really begins to realize working with this guy is a bad idea. And he's looking at all these illegal aliens who see him wearing the American flag and are just like, wow, so much for the country of the free, huh?
Yeah, and he even asks, so when he's in the cell, he asks Captain if he understands Spanish. And obviously, Captain says he doesn't.
No.
So, then he starts threatening this woman in Spanish, and you see Cap looking back with the woman crying, and maybe Elvira. So maybe he's coming to his senses.
Then we have our third interlude where the Arranger sends Tombstone after a guy who has mind control powers. He's used his mind control powers to get super rich, and he becomes a huge character coming up in the five parts. We're going to cover it an issue at a time. Tombstone storyline. Peter is having a nightmare where characters like Dr. Octopus, Venom, the Hobgoblin, and someone named Mongoose, who I couldn't tell you who it is. I would have to look it up, and I don't want to, are attacking him.
Mongoose.
Must have been a character he was fighting in Web of Spider-Man, because whenever they reference a bunch of villains attacking him at once, it's usually villains that have appeared recently in the books. It will come again later on when he says, "Oh, I was being attacked by the Hobgoblin and Venom and Doc Ock," because all simultaneously they were attacking him in various books. Mary Jane gets a phone call that Elvira is getting deported, and Spider-Man swings out in the red and blue for the first time in this issue to go confront him, not realizing that Captain America is there and thinks Cap is going to help him, but he doesn't, unfortunately, and that's when the Tarantula attacks. And it's just Tarantula and Spider-Man, because Cap pretty much watches the rest of the fight.
Yeah, because he says, this is wrong. Attacking a wounded man isn't heroism. I have to ask myself, is this how the original Cap would act?
Now, do you know how Captain America, John Walker, learned how to throw the shield like Steve?
No.
The government gave him training with the shield from Taskmaster, who has a photographic memory of reflexes. That's Taskmaster's biggest power. And for anyone not familiar with the comic books, Taskmaster would appear, if they ever release it, in the Black Widow movie.
Oh,
push back again.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Was it pushed back? Because I read today that it was somebody saw it listed on Disney Plus.
Everyone keeps saying that, and it's just the trailer.
Okay.
Yeah, they put the trailers for their movies up there. The only thing they don't have up there is Eternals. I mean, honestly, here's $22 Disney Plus. I'll buy your Blu-ray.
I'm kind of over with. I know this is diverging, but Black Widow, I'm at the point where I don't care if I see it or not. If I see it, if it comes out, I'll see it. But if they decide to shelve it for 20 years, I think they waited way too long.
So Spider-Man defeats the Tarantula and hauls him off to jail, and that's when the stooly government guy, Mr. South, gets punched out by Captain America because he's tired of putting up with his BS. And then we have an interlude talking about what to do about illegal aliens and how we should be treating them. And with luck, they'll get the kind of welcome they deserve. It's not much, but sometimes you have to settle for small victories. I know, but it's the small defeats that break my heart. And she's talking about Elvira and her family are being deported back to their country, but they're going to get some type of protection when they go back home. They're not going to be hunted by Tarantula and the corrupt regime that he happens to work for. Makes you think, though. So Tarantula works for the government of whatever country he's from, but the refugees are being sent back to their country to be protected. Maybe it's not the same country. Maybe it's just all the entire continent of South America.
So, sorry, go ahead, Rich.
No, I was just saying that's an excellent question. You found a point in the story, or a faux pas, if you will.
In the Spectacular Spider-Man, they talk about the price increase, and it says, we've got some good news and bad news this time around. First, the bad news. Due to ever-increasing costs, we've had to raise the price of Spidey titles to $1 each. No, Spider-Man is just your most popular title, and you want more money. From people who have told me, they said there was no reason to raise the price of Spider-Man's comic book. It's just your most popular book. You want an extra quarter out of everybody.
Oh, yeah.
The Spider titles and the Mutant titles and a few others. Gee, what were the most popular books in the 80s and 90s? The X-Men and Spider-Man.
Yeah. So I, not getting political or anything like this, I love at the end, they give the inscription for the Statue of Liberty. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. The wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless tempests tossed to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. And yeah, that's a lot of people need to be reminded about that nowadays, and obviously back then too.
In the in continuing with the blurb about the price increase, they also give you a quick hint about where is continuity taking place when, because John Walker would appear also in other titles as Captain America, of course, him being a somewhat an Avenger. I don't think he was an Avenger. I think Steve took over as the captain in the various titles, in the black suit, black and red, white and suit, with his stupid Stark shield, which he was basically given as like shut up money for Tony Stark to go run around in the armor wars, which were happening at the same time. This takes place alongside Thor number 392, Amazing Spider-Man, as we mentioned, number 300, and A Web of Spider-Man number 39, which features the return of the Hobgoblin. And Spider-Man's going away Peter's going away party from his apartment from all of his cast of characters that we've come to know over the last 10 years that were living in the same building as him.
Oh, wow.
Including girls that Peter would constantly be like flirting with and go on semi-dates with once in a while. Or
oh, they were brought up in episode 300, right? During the movie?
Yes, there were like 3 women that were just like these gorgeous looking girls, and like 2 people were helping. So in Web of Spider-Man 39, Peter and Mary Jane are moving out. In the issue 300, Peter, Mary Jane are moving in with the help of Flash Thompson, who was still alive at this time, Harry Osborn, who wasn't Kindred at this time, and right there in the lower left-hand corner, you have the 3 gorgeous women, one of every hair color, by the way, redhead, brunette, and blonde, who used to live next to Peter.
Wow, there's Pete's old neighbors, Candy, Randy, and Bambi.
Who, by the way, were famous for constantly sunbathing nude outside Peter's apartment next to the goddamn skylight that he would use to crawl in and out of as Spider-Man.
Poor Peter.
Yeah. So all these people are helping MJ move in, and 2 people about to crash into each other. Man, if I had them living next door, I'd never move.
Yeah, most of them are like Mary Jane's. I mean, you see Robbie Robertson right there in the background because he's smoking his pipe while he's moving. And then, of course, most of them are like friends of Mary Jane's that Peter's just like, who are these people? And she's like, oh, friends from soap opera, rich people I've hung out with and gone to parties with. And like, you have that one rich guy who's like, please put it over there. He's like, wait a minute, sir.
Hold on. Is that a Fozzie Bear?
No, but I think that is on the left-hand side. I think that's the guy from Mad Magazine.
Oh, Alfred E. Newman?
Yeah. I think the guy in the lower left-hand corner, right below the box that Peter's holding, is somebody that works at Marvel.
Yeah. Yeah, he's even missing that's supposed to be Alfred.
Now, Peter and Mary Jane would live in this place for the next 10 months, and I'll get into why when they move in Spectacular, because it does affect all of the Spider books, that they don't live in this apartment they don't live in this penthouse building forever. They are forced to move, and we will get to it eventually because it affects every single book. They're forced to go live with Aunt May. Which Peter's like, great, I gotta be Spider-Man, I have to live with Aunt May again. What do you guys think of these 2 issues as the next part of our kickoff of the beginning of the Spectacular Spider-Man run?
I really enjoyed them. I did like the political aspect and how it correlates to today. And he was the tarantula was very like focused. He really wanted to kill Spider-Man. It was almost like well, why is this so personal for you, man? He was really entrenched in that feeling, and he liked being subversive. He liked not showing Captain America what was really going on.
The ads for the issue are pretty much repeated almost from the previous time we covered them. There's Top Secret. I've never played this. This is a role-playing game. You guys ever heard of this game?
No. I know the movie.
Yeah, nope, nothing to do with the movie. Assume the role of your favorite super spy from movies, television, or books. Equip yourself with everything from a Beretta to a bazooka, Lear to a Lamborghini, and step into the ring. The Spy Ring, the all-new top-secret SI game, the world's first espionage role-playing game, just got better, more exciting, more dangerous. Now that you've got to be better than Bond at his best. So they like tied it in a Bond, but they never like Bond's not like a character in the game.
Nope, you got to pay for that.
Yeah. They also, both issues have the prizes or cash ads, which are the sales leadership club. You sell a bunch of crap, and then you can get like a watch, a microwave, a Walkman, a calculator, a tape deck recorder. You know, considering what we're talking on right now, a tape deck recorder is some ancient technology. The Konami ads for all the Konami video games that we talked about previously. And there is the Marvel comic book subscription ad where you can basically get 8 issues for 75 cents or something like that. A bunch of pins that you can order where it says Wolverine saying buy them or take mine. And then there's an ad in here for the Nintendo Entertainment System and a bunch of other great Nintendo products, which are very, very cool. And then they do profiles in here for Michael Higgins, who was the editor, assistant editor on the Silver Surfer at the time during the bullpen bulletins, which were written by Tom DeFalco, talking about the anniversary of Spider-Man this month. Because again, this was the 25th anniversary of Spider-Man's creation.
Ooh.
Another 5 years, we'd have the big 30th anniversary. You remember with all the hologram covers. We'll get to those eventually because they are part of our coverage.
I remember those.
Happening over in the Marvel Universe at this time, Captain America 341, as we mentioned, is the John Walker storyline. Avengers 291, I don't know what was happening there. I think they were still recovering from the Avengers Mansion Siege story arc. Incredible Hulk 333, which was the Grey Hulk storyline. Silver Surfer number 11. So this is when Surfer was kind of crappy and Ron Mars hadn't taken over as writer yet, which somebody in the group for the Dorkening Network mentioned Ron Mars, right, Leo?
Yeah. What was that in regards to?
I don't know. I gave my 2 cents about it, but I didn't want to jump into that conversation. I've talked to Ron enough. We're friends. I would if nobody joins him, I'll join him definitely for it. But I'm a super huge Ron Mars fan, and I'm a friend of his, and I'm knowledgeable of his stuff. So
nice.
Also happening at the time, Conan the King number 46, which is very funny considering Marvel is publishing Conan right now again. How long do you think before Marvel publishes all of their old toys once again, like G.I. Joe and Transformers, because they're publishing Star Wars again?
Well, you mean the books?
Yeah.
Well, IDW is doing Transformers, right? It's
right. But how long before you think Marvel starts publishing Star Wars? I mean, Marvel's publishing Alien and Predator.
Yeah.
I mean, if you went to the comic book store the last couple weeks, there are alternate Alien covers for every single book Marvel puts out right now.
Why?
Because Alien is now Marvel's property, so they want to show you something cool. Guess what's going to happen? The Predator will be on every single cover as an alternate cover you can buy. You can buy the regular cover, or you can buy the Alien cover.
So the big question,
the King in Black storyline has Null fighting an alien.
So how long until there is a Alien Predator Star Wars mashup?
Possibly never, because Marvel's had the printing rights for Star Wars since 2015, and we still haven't seen a Guardians of the Galaxy Star Wars crossover, which everyone was hoping was going to happen. And there has never been a Star Wars crossover with other titles during the 25 years that Dark Horse was publishing them. It's a thing in the contract. I was told by a former editor-in-chief at Dark Horse that they cannot cross Star Wars over with any property. Fan art is fine. Printed art for like a table, like a pinup or something is fine. Like a lot of people have seen the one where Darth Vader's fighting all the xenomorphs. That's fine, but you're never going to get it in a comic book. He said it's part of the agreement of like Yoda's origin and Yoda's species name will never be said and ever revealed. And that's fine. We don't need Star Wars to cross over with other stuff. Aliens and Predator makes a lot more sense because they are in the, Earth, aliens come to Earth, Predators come to Earth. That's fine. It makes sense for the Predator to fight the Punisher. If Disney will ever figure out what they're going to do with the Punisher after what happened recently. But I would love to see the Predator fight the Punisher or Wolverine. That would be cool. I don't want to see the Predator fight Spider-Man. I don't want to see him fight the Avengers. I want to see him fight characters that make sense. Conan the Barbarian would make perfect sense for him to fight the Predator.
Oh, yeah.
Because Conan's living in the Marvel Universe right now. He's part of the Avengers.
Well, Chris, I didn't think it about at the time, but we were talking about it on another episode. Do you think the Brood was pretty much alien?
I don't know. I don't know the entire
X-Men?
backstory of the Brood, but I mean, just to assume that they have the alien now, that means the Brood are going to go away. I have no idea. I haven't read every single X-Men comic book out there, so I don't even know where the Brood are right now in the lexicon of things. I do read every Guardians of the Galaxy, and the Brood have barely showed up in that ever. So if they're waiting to do something with the Brood, I honestly don't know. Maybe the Brood are just going to go away quietly. Like, do you remember the Inhumans? Do you remember those characters? Do you remember how Donny Cates came along and said, F the Inhumans, die, and freaking killed them all? Because the Inhumans suck, and the TV shows sucked, and Marvel was trying to make the Inhumans the new X-Men, and nobody liked that?
Well, who thought they'd ever pick up the Eternals as a Marvel property?
The Eternals are a lot more interesting than the Inhumans, because Neil Gaiman wrote them. Nobody has written the Inhumans as being cool. That's a whole other episode to get into, because there's an Eternal movie coming out, so we can do the Eternals for the splash pages sometimes, especially the Eternals Neil Gaiman story that he did.
Yeah, totally.
Which, if you want to read anything about the Eternals, honestly, the only thing you need to freaking read is that Neil Gaiman miniseries. You don't need to read all the stuff that's ever been written about them. If you are a big Kirby fan, please read the Kirby stuff. It's very Kirby-ish. But if you just want basic understanding of the Eternals, go read the Neil Gaiman thing. It does have to cross over into Civil War that was happening at the time, because Tony Stark shows up being all pissy and moany about registration and things like that. So, the Eternals is good for when Neil Gaiman wrote it, and that character Cersei that was on the Avengers at the time.
Mm-hmm. I'm just making a note of that. Yeah, definitely close to the movie, or maybe we'll do it right after the movie comes out, because we don't want to spoil anything.
Cool.
We'll cover
coming
it.
up next in the Spider-Man Spectacular book, as I mentioned, the big Tombstone story arc, which goes for 5 issues, and also guest stars the Punisher. And in fact, it was my first introduction to the Punisher on a cover where the Punisher just has a pile of dudes below him, and he is beating the crap out of them, and it says, "Don't mess with the Punisher." And it's just this huge imposing shot of the Punisher kicking the crap out of guys with his bare hands, and it is awesome.
So it's going to be 139 for next week, right?
Correct. And absolutely love the it was my first ever introduction to, I think, also Mary Jane. I was very new to Spider-Man when I first read that issue, and Tombstone shows up at Mary Jane's modeling studio, and things get bad for Mary Jane. And Peter is dealing with something with Robbie, and he just goes running away when he hears Mary Jane's been hurt or whatever. And I was just like, what is going on? Oh, I can't wait to get to it.
Awesome. Well, definitely everybody tune in next week. If you're watching us live, we're streaming over on the Dorkening Podcast Network and Splash Pages, the Comic Book Club. And for the podcast, Chris can clue you in on where to find that. We'll have to get your feeds submitted everywhere. And I'll work with you on that. And people can find it wherever podcasts are found. Anything else you have for us, Chris, before we wrap it up?
I don't know where these are collected. They're probably on Comixology if you want to read them.
Yeah.
So they're in Comixology, they're like $1.
Yeah, most likely. I think Comixology has a subscription also, right?
Oh my God, I would be completely an idiot to forget mentioning this. The day that we're recording this and doing the stream on the 26th, it is the 85th birthday of Sal Buscema.
Oh.
Happy birthday, Sal!
Yeah.
Yes, and also yesterday it was the 91st birthday of John Romita Sr.
Oh, wow.
John Romita Sr. is considered to be the third father of Spider-Man, because after Steve Ditko left, he took over the title. And let's face it, he brought life into that book. The Revelation of the Green Goblin, the first appearance of Joe Robinson, who's going to become a big character for our story coming up, the first appearance of the Kingpin, the first appearance of Mary Jane, first appearance of the Rhino, the first appearance of the not the Shock. Man, was it the Shocker? No, yeah, I don't know. A lot of big story arcs happen under John Romita Sr. So John Romita Sr. and Sal Buscema both have birthdays back to back.
Wow.
Very cool.
85 and 91.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Chris, where do you like people following you?
We don't have any social media for the Spectacular Spider-Man host page, Spider-Man show. I run too many other social media things, but you can go over to the Dorkening Network and follow them, and that's where the episodes are going to be posted. We'll post episodes on Christy SAV on Twitter, and my other comic book related show is at Goth Girl Horror with me and my co-host Charcy. Discuss Hack Slash, the Goth Girl Hunter of Serial Killers Slashers by Tim Seeley. And also, if you're interested, you can buy my graphic novel coming out very, very soon, Vlada, a Dracula Tale.
Awesome. We'll look for that.
Which we just got a 2.5-page forward from New York Times bestselling author Jonathan Mayberry.
That is awesome. Congratulations on that. And very happy to see you succeed with it, which is so awesome. How about you, Rich the Velvet Joker?
Evening, guys. You can catch me, Rich Davis, here on Facebook or Instagram, CT Joker 2014. That's Carrot Thomas Joker 2014.
And
have a great evening. Thanks, guys.
And for me, just Google Leo Pond. You find a bunch of stuff. Could be true, could be not. I'm not going to say which is which. But more importantly, follow these awesome people and head on over to thedorkening.com, which you can find most of the shows on the network. I'm working on rebuilding the site, so the splash pages and the Spectacular Spider-Man isn't on there yet. It'll be on a new site once I get that launched. And also, I'm just going to do a plug here. Dorkening shirts are available. So we have some awesome artwork by artist Dalmerge, which is helping us put some inventory together for some awesome shirts. He did this design, and we have a couple other designs on there as well, and more coming up. We're going to try to do, like 1 or 2 new designs a month, all custom artwork just for the network. And with that, we'll catch you guys later. Bye.
Have a good night.